meeting July 20th, 2021 of the McMinnville Water and Light Commission. And so we'll do a roll call and call on Trina to do that.
Yes, Mayor Hill,
Here.
Commissioner Tankersley,
Here.
Commissioner Gormley is excused, Commissioner Christensen,
Here.
Commissioner Tate.
Here.
Thank you, Trina. A part of our consent agenda this evening are minutes of previous meetings dated June 15, 2021, and insurance renewal update. Does anyone want to take anything off the consent agenda and move to the regular agenda this evening?
I move adoption of the consent agenda.
A second? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the consent agenda passes unanimously this evening. Next is our accounts payable and purchasing reports, part of the packet. Let's go over to our consultant reports. And I don't see Brent on the call.
Yeah, Brent hasn't joined us yet, so maybe we can circle back if he's able
Okay.
to join.
Okay, we'll do that. That then takes us to appearance requests, which we have none this evening. Staff reports, I don't show anything, or old business this evening. That'll take us to new business. And we have a new employee, and I'm going to turn over to Scott to introduce Jen. So we'll have Scott do that, and Jen give us a little of your background. And then I think before we do all of that, though, let's go ahead and introduce members of the commission. And so I will start with Jody Christensen.
Hi, I'm Jody Christensen, and what would you like me to say, Mayor? Just my name and that's it?
Well, and where you work?
I work for the governor in a program called Regional Solutions, and I serve Barrington and Yavapai County on economic and community development projects.
And then prior to that, she was with us for 10 years as McMinnville Economic Development Executive Director that started economic development as we know it today in McMinnville. So,
Thank you.
Kathy.
Hi, I'm Kathy Tate. I'm with Online Northwest, the local internet company here in McMinnville. Nice to meet you.
And Tom.
Hi, Jen. I'm Tom Tankersley. I'm retired. Few other things doing, but basically I'm a retired lawyer and been on the commission for a while. So nice to meet you. Glad you're here.
Jen, probably close to 30 years, if not longer, on the commission. So he's got some real working knowledge. And I'm Scott Hill, retired, but Mayor of McMinnville. And so, Scott, I'll turn it over to you to do a little of the introductions and have Jen address us with her background.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Mayor, commissioners, good to see you. Different view this time. So in our new fiscal year, there was a few new positions, and one of the positions was the addition of a second engineering and operations assistant. So Jen Hawkins recently joined us July 1st, actually. So her focus is mainly going to be on the electric side, but the intent is now with both the engineering and operations assistants, so cover back and forth for water and electric. So Jen has recently joined us. She's from McMinnville, but I will turn it over to her and she can say a few words. So Jen Hawkins.
Hi, everybody. So I moved to McMinnville in 2005, and I worked remotely for a hospitalist company. And then in 2018, I took a position with the McMinnville School District, and I worked there until this last July when I started here.
Apparently you weren't there.
What was that?
Well, welcome. Again, as you've, I think, already figured out that this is a great kind of family-centered group that we work with here. It's always a joy to be able to interact with those at Water and Light. Your focus is on customer service and doing the best they can for a quality product. And as you know, or if you, well, you've lived in that for quite a while, but second lowest water and electric rates in the state. And so one of our hidden gems in the community. So again, welcome. And we look forward to seeing you as we're into the office. So again, thank you.
Thank you so much.
That'll now take us to John, if you'd like to do the COVID update for us.
Sure. So I'll just hit the highlights. We've had no additional COVID cases in the utility over the last month. The governor has lifted a number of the restrictions, but still has emergency declaration in place till December 31st, primarily for FEMA funding, if that becomes available. Let's see what other things. Water crew, electric crews are both fairly busy. One of the things that I don't know if everyone knows, maybe Commissioner Tate knows, but construction has not slowed down. Through COVID, we have continued to be extremely busy, continuing to replace our infrastructure, but also new connections, new customer services. One of the things that we've become, again, Commissioner Tate knows this probably as well, is supply chain is becoming bigger and bigger issue. So for example, distribution transformers are now out 36 weeks, I believe. Yeah, and so almost 9 months. We actually had some issues with getting our water meters, the chips in the meters, but there's been issues there as well. One of the manufacturers actually did a force majeure on us, and we actually canceled one of them because of that issue. Line truck, we have a line truck in the budget. That truck is estimated at 450 days for delivery. It's becoming a huge issue. So yeah, you will see that the other issue that we've had recently is ductile iron pipe. Normally we were able to get that within a couple of weeks. It's now out some manufacturers at 16 weeks. So what you'll see is that our inventory will go up because of this, because we're going to make sure we have enough material on hand to continue to supply to do our construction. There are a number of utilities that are now sending out letters to customers. We have not been in that situation yet.
But, well, and along with that, supply has the price spiked a bit.
Prices have gone up, copper in particular, steel, a number of the things that we bought were actually before those price increases. So the transformer we bought for Baker Creek was prior to that. Substation steel we had was prior to that. So most of those big projects like that, the steel poles that we saw this afternoon were ordered before that. So yeah, you're going to see increases, substantial increases in the cost of materials.
Do you have any kind of like a consortium of water and light utilities that are ordering similar materials? We've had to start doing that, like find other companies like us to put in like a mass order to our distributor so that they're willing to warehouse the stock, but just to get, you have to put in a big enough order to get first in line. It's really easy.
The problem that we faced, and we've tried this in the past, is that all of our specs are just a little bit different. And so that's been a challenge for us. So anyway, so I believe we have a number of orders out for transformers. We're just going to keep trying to stay ahead of that because it is becoming such an issue. And what I've heard is this is going to continue for at least 22.
What's going to happen when all of this infrastructure, if infrastructure money comes down and people actually have, dollars to do projects for a really long time, and then where's that material at?
Yeah, that's going to be,
It's just the
going to
start,
be a
I
challenge.
think.
I agree. What really this shows is that with the global supply chain, we're no longer We don't set off.
Right.
We're now somebody else in a different country now. So I think, hopefully people recognize it and actually manufacture this. This is a big deal for us.
Well, I'm hearing it sitting in the building industry where wood is up almost 4 times.
Yep.
And that may never come down, even though the supply chain will take care of it, but you typically don't reduce your prices very slow. You go up fast and go down slow, so.
And with the destruction of the wildfires.
Yeah.
And the impact that has on them. So I was recently at a council of governments meeting and they were talking about that sort of bringing people together to do larger orders. And that might be something that Water and Light through McMinnville's membership to the council of governments, just to sort of keep that on your radar.
That's good, yeah. Because we are part of OWON too, and so. And we have other mutual aid agreements on the electric side as well. But, for example, one of our suppliers, General Pacific, is actually a co-op. So they're owned by the co-ops. NISC is a co-op owned, our software vendors co-op. There seems to be more of those things starting to happen. Co-ops could take advantage of those things. So anyway, and then I'll add that we opened the front lobby yesterday. And I believe we had somewhere between 12 and 15 customers come through. So it's more than I expected. We didn't advertise, we just opened it. So the word got out fairly quickly.
It feels like everything's happening.
Yeah, they missed us. Yeah, it doesn't take much to go up. The other thing I would probably add is I made a note in here on credit cards, I checked last month's credit card fee per transaction. We estimated on that. So we're actually, and it's actually been going down every month. So at some point we'll take it off. But that cost is actually going down.
That's great.
So, and then I believe Sam has a resolution for the commission.
There's a resolution in your packet. We put this together, sort of the idea of trying to wind down the emergency measures, but at the same time continuing the declaration. This draft proposes a continuation actually through the end of the year. And we did that, we're proposing that because that's where the governor's emergency declaration continues. I think primarily, I don't speak for the governor's office, but I think there's concern about FEMA and federal funding trying to keep the emergency declaration in place.
I think they're tied together. Also, expenses incurred under emergency declaration.
Yeah, they're
reimbursed.
through FEMA.
But the direct declaration here just states that we're really reimposing, in so much as they've been waived, the policies, procedures relating to connection, disconnection, service and utilities. It also allows for time payment agreements up to 12 months to be customers as a methodology to try to minimize the impact, the financial impact on customers. It also allows the general manager outside of those things or express policies to continue to exercise discretion on things like having the office open or access to the building and things like that were expressed in the original declaration. So it's there for your use. Your other option would be to simply continue the current declaration as we did last month. I guess the other option would be just to let the declaration expire. That's kind of where we're at.
I just think we align ourselves with the state. I don't know what we're going to do with the city yet, but I think if it gives us the ability to receive FEMA funds or grant funds, I think it's all the sense in the world. Other comments?
And the authority for job to continue things that are necessary that don't fit with our official
Right.
policies.
Yeah,
It's
if
all
there-
sense to-
If there's some change.
Right.
And the time payment plans, like, people want to cooperate.
Right.
We'll continue to cooperate with them.
And I think what we've seen, which is pretty interesting, is very few people have not communicated. And so our disconnects have been very good. And the dollars outstanding, I look at the, and it's in here, I actually look at the 69, 30, 69 dollars. Those have actually gone down over last year. So I thought that was, John Spence has done a great job keeping up with that and contacting his customers and working.
So I think we move forward with that resolution, and so
I can read it by title only. It is in your packet. It's resolution number 2021-21. Resolution by the city of McMinnville, the municipal corporation of the state of Oregon, acting by its Water Light Commission, winding down the impacts of the state of emergency with regards to operation of the water and light plants of the city of McMinnville and reducing measures of response.
thank you, Sam. Trina, could you poll the commission on resolution 2021-21?
Yes, do we have a motion to adopt?
I move we adopt the resolution.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and adopted, or moved and seconded. And so Trina, could you poll the commission?
Yes, Mayor Hill,
Yes?
Commissioner Tankersley,
Yes.
Commissioner Christensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Tate.
Yes.
Resolution 2021-21 passes unanimously. And thank you, John, for that report. I see that Brent is on the line, so we'll go back up to consultant and partner reports. And Brent, welcome. And if you could take us through your report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a little bit late to the meeting. I was having some phone trouble here. But we're getting started on the 2021 stumpage sales. The 103 road we thought would start earlier. They got ready. They got some road work done and getting all prepped for it. And then their operator got hurt and he should be back here within a week or two. And so they'll start that sale by the end of this month. And that shouldn't be any problem at all getting finished up on time. 750 road is in full swing. Bighorn Logging is logging that for Western Forest Products, and they're currently cutting, logging, and trucking from that sale. One persistent problem throughout the industry is trucks, or actually drivers. And so they're not getting as many trucks as they want. So loads are a little slow, but they're still on track to get that done this summer. So far, we got about 50 loads shipped and roughly 250,000 board feet so far, which is an estimated value to date of a couple $100,000. I'll have some more specific numbers next month as payments come in on that sale. Fire season started June 22nd and was at level 1 for about 2 days. And then that heat dome showed up. And so we jumped to level 2, and that's where we're at now, which is considered a high, but not extreme fire precaution level. Water and light fire trucks at the treatment plant, and operators, of course, have their required fire equipment. So at this point now, weather looks pretty mild. Things are dry, but we'll cross our fingers and hope we have a moderate fire season in the watershed anyway. Any questions?
Any questions of Brent? Thank you for that report.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's go back to new business, item C. And John, would you run us through the information that you provided on the facility building upgrades?
Wanted to have a discussion and get input from the commission on what we're looking at as future planning for this facility. And so What I have here is a map that basically shows the light blues are current buildings. And then we're looking at some options here. So option for this building, 2 options, future expansion of the warehouse and future maintenance. So what we've got, just so Commissioner Christensen, we own this entire site. So the 2.5 acres at the front of the road, Water and Light owns that. It's tied to the parcel. This parcel is about 18.3 acres. And what we have done here over the last year is we actually had all of our poles stored in this area, and we've actually moved them down to the back. This is an unused area, and move those poles and that storage back here so that there's more room up front here. I'm thinking ahead, but what we're looking at is first phase would be something either expand or remodel this building and expand, or actually build something new out front here to have additional space. We would look at expanding a commission room, having a larger room that we would actually have the ability to do training in, and an additional office in the back. The other option is building a new building up front here that would have the admin facilities, training area, and commission area in this area. That would be phase 1. Phase 2 would be building a maintenance building, because right now our building is over here. The trucks have gotten bigger over time, and now the trucks don't fit in the building anymore. It's just because this facility was built in 1988, so we've been in the facility for 33 years, almost 34 years. The utility has grown in size. Back then we had 8,000 electric customers, 5,000 water customers. Today we have over 17,000 electric and over 12,000 water customers. And so it's pretty impressive what's happened over time. And we would be looking at this facility would be basically the admin facility. We'd have the commission room, customer service, those types of things. Here, expansion of the warehouse, what we'd be looking at long term is actually moving reels from outside undercover, because now over time they're made of wood and they rot. And you can see some of the reels. We actually have to take the reels and rewind them on other reels. Do that undercover, probably put a bridge crane in there so you can actually load from the building. You don't have to actually load out in the yard. This building would actually, what we'd be looking at here is maintenance, plus then also some fabrication shopping in this as well for our substation group. They do all the panel work, all the meters, all of that. So our capital budget for this year has money for engineering and architectural design, and then all the year has dollars for construction.
You want to kind of go over the fuel station?
Sure, yeah, let's, this is actually in process right now. So we actually met with the design engineer and the consultant today on the fuel station, getting that going, and we're anticipating construction sometime late this year, early next year. We'll probably look at 3 tanks. We have an 8,000 gallon gas tank and 2 12,000 gallon diesel tanks. Right now, so for example, the ice storm we had in February, the treatment plant burned about 2,200 gallons of fuel. We had that they were out for 7 days. And so we actually have the ability to supply fuel. We actually have our own tanker here, and we can supply about, that truck will hold about 2,000 gallons. And so the idea is that we can take fuel from this and we can run it up there, or we can fuel our generator back here. Longer term, we've been talking to the city about partnering with them as well, because they have the same needs. And I would also add that they just are getting ready to install 2 new generators. One down here at the dog park for the well, it's not public works, it's the pump station, the main pump station.
With the wastewater.
Yeah, with the wastewater, and they're installing one at the main wastewater facility. So at some point, they're going to need something as well. So we've been talking with them, but we haven't, city hasn't made any decisions on what they're going to do. But we think this is This was identified as our number one priority for resiliency and emergency preparedness.
And John, this is for not just, excuse me, generators, but also for the equipment. and
All the
for
equipment.
fleet, right? So
This is what we designed for was figuring we were going to be 2 weeks on our own without any deliveries, fuel, or anything. So the goal here is that we would draw the tanks down to about 50% and then refill. So we have that capacity.
So is it two options? One is to expand the existing facility?
Yes.
Or
This is one option, and this is the other.
Well, we wouldn't expand here,
If you,
but we may update.
we would, so if we
so
went
this facility would be,
in engineering operations. So basically what you have is customer service here, and if somebody wanted engineering operations, this would be the building. So what we would do in that instance, we would not do these options, we would just, the building, the reason this all started is the building needs a new roof. And so we started asking the question, what else is going, what else long-term, what do we do? So it needs a new roof, flooring needs to be replaced, it's breaking up. Bathrooms need to be remodeled, and maybe some other cosmetic type work. And so that's what started us thinking down this path. And so what we want to make sure is that, whatever we do is going to go for the next 30 to 40 years.
So how does that look as far as the number of personnel and then that you, like if you remodeled this and built this out here, but how many employees do you have now?
We have 60 and our budget is for 64.
For the coming year.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking 30 years.
Right.
I mean, are you thinking another 50%?
No, we would probably, I would think more like somewhere around 20. But the nice thing about this is the other thing we've had a discussion with the city is they've talked about potentially co-locating public works here, so we would be able to space to them at some point as well.
And Public Works is in dire need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if you know the facility that well, there's actually a gate back here that goes to public. So there's actually, this is actually a road that goes back into the public works back.
So to that west side, you've got the dog park,
Mm-hmm.
and then you've got access, and we've got a wastewater, and then we've got Public Works back. Is it in this area?
Yep. Yeah. The trailer is falling apart.
I mean, if you had somebody that was going to share space with you or use space with you, maybe it would be,
We don't. If
I
we
mean, you're
do,
going to move the admin people over
Yeah.
here.
so then that
And then
would,
they
that
would
would
backfill some of that space.
space.
I just wonder, it's hard to know what's going to happen with
Right.
construction costs and things, but it's like if you're already doing work here.
Yeah, this would be pretty minimal work because we're not adding any square footage.
Yeah, the bump outs wouldn't happen if we moved
I'm
administration.
just wondering if you consider them happening,
Yeah.
if you're doing a 30-year plan and
Yeah.
you're thinking about public works coming
Yeah.
over.
But public works, we're looking at, we're talking 5 people. So it's not a huge, and so basically that whole front space now can become engineering, so public works can be in there. And I would envision that here you'd probably have customer service, which would be 5, 6, 7, about 10 people, accounting, myself, Sam, Trina, so probably 50% or more of this building becomes vacant. And then you can move some of like Scott and some of that into here. We can expand our IT area. That's one area. We've got 3 people in one space right now. So we're kind of, and we've got Jen and a couple of other employees right now because we don't have space for them. So
I think you mentioned earlier when you talked about this also, like just the idea of having some separate space for
resiliency.
resiliency. And I also wonder about just security,
Yeah.
Having the public all
Up
stay
here.
in the front of the property and not, come back here, probably has some appeals.
Well, and the nice thing about this is we would have 2 buildings, and if something happens to, the likelihood of happening to both is very, very low, the risk. So we have ability to transition either way if we have an issue. So I think that's the new company.
What is the staff?
think
the general feel around here?
the only concern I think they have with this, and we've talked a little bit, is, you know, it's a little bit of ways from everybody, but we already kind of have that with some of the other work groups now. So I think that can be worked out, and especially if we have an area where we have enough space to bring all the employees in to do training or have meetings or any of those types of things.
We don't really have a cafeteria
No.
area, so people would eat at their desks.
Yes, that's another issue.
There's a little lunchroom area that
But
has
Yeah,
over in the warehouse.
is that something you're thinking about
Mhm.
though?
That's something else that I've been thinking about too, is having a nicer space than what we have today, because we really don't have where anybody can even just go and sit down. That's another struggle we face. I mean, the crew has an area in the warehouse, but even it's not that big. And we have just one small room here, and so that's another that I would like to see, is some type of employee lounge space, whatever we want to call it.
And if you did have some sort of a meeting space or something, then that would also bring these people.
Yeah.
Right,
over
exactly.
there.
And the other thing I'm thinking about is if we do something with a bigger space, we'd be looking at somewhere, you know, occupancy of somewhere around 100 people. So where I came from, we actually had a space like that, and we actually would lease that space out to nonprofits, and we would not charge them for that. They would just have to pay a security deposit. So that gives another space for people to have meetings, and it worked out really well.
It's interesting because I'm just reflecting, I don't know if anything changed. There aren't a lot of meeting spaces in the industrial district. And so this would be kind of an interesting asset to bring
Right.
to this area. And a space where food can be served.
Right.
So there's a lot of restrictions sometimes on
Right, and
on
so,
meeting locations. So that would be an interesting benefit.
exactly.
Well, even when we have Public Works Week and we have our
Right.
annual barbecue, it's all gotta be catered. We have to clean out the warehouse, get the trucks out, and then we put the tables up. And
And the city has zero space for anything like that. And so I would look at some type of outdoor space here as well. Would probably cover.
Yeah.
And, you know, like you said, with the meeting, and my vision would be that you would tie, if you had a employee lunchroom, break room, that eating would be tied to that room as well, so you have one space, one covers both. And you can just close it and lock a door to keep people out.
Yeah, I really like it, and I think, you know, Kathy brought up an excellent point. I think from a security standpoint, when you have that public facing team, you know, in more of that closer to the road location, I think it does. I always think about security when I come here. For some reason, yeah, you guys have got me well trained. But
And we've done a lot with security, like, you know, that's with the fuel station, we're also looking at that as well. Because one of the things we're going to do is we're going to bring fiber from, our fiber line comes in back here and runs through the building. We're gonna bring that fiber around and out front here, so that we can tie in a card reader and a system to this fuel station. But while doing that, that also gives us fiber to this as well. And it just, we're just trying to think, you know, how does this work? And so what we're looking at is water and power would come along this back fence line, and then we would come down this way for this facility. And then that leaves us that as well to bring the fence as well.
John, I think it'd be interesting to look at and design this, if you do this new building over here, design it one or two steps
Ahead.
higher on the earthquake and
Right.
wind and that kind of stuff. So if French on different levels based on different risks, we would just assume we're in a one or two risk higher area, just so we have.
No, that's-
single story.
Yes, it's in the story. Yeah, and so, you know, we'll have to, you know, whatever, some type of art what we come up with. But so anyway, the reason I wanted to bring this up is we want to put a scope of work together so that we can go up to an RFP for design services. And I didn't want to do, maybe we're not sure about this and we're not sure about that. We want to have a scope of work so we're pretty sure, so we don't spend a lot of dollars on what ifs. So.
If the staff is okay with it, then I like the idea of doing it over there.
So,
It makes a lot of sense.
James, any comments?
What's that, John? Comments?
Do you have any comments? I know we've talked.
I didn't hear all of that because I'm kind of broken up, but comments in regards to sharing it with Public Works was kind of new to me, but
Just in general, on building something new out on the front piece of front parcel. You know, we've talked about developing a scope of work for that, for architectural services this year.
we are, when you give us the direction, we can.
That's why,
That's
why I
what
wanted
we're
to have
talking
this
about.
conversation. Punt. So,
So
Yeah,
when we face into the desk, are you unable to hear what we're talking about?
I can't hear very well at all on my side.
So we'll need to be better about that,
well, this is our first go around,
So
so.
we need to be this
facing
way.
into this.
So what did you want me to comment on, John?
Well, I just want to know if you had any comments, you know, remodel versus building new. Yeah, we're breaking it.
I mean, I think not in regards to remodel versus a new. I mean, I think the staff has put their best foot forward on kind of giving recommendations there. Yeah, both has its pros and cons. We went through the geotechnical survey, 2 years ago?
Right,
So that basically opened up the door for us to expand this building out. So we know that's a possibility. We haven't done any survey work out on the other parcel, but the assumption would be that it's buildable.
right.
So, yeah, but I think everyone can come to the consensus that we need additional space. It's just how do we use that space?
Okay.
Yeah, there was discussion, and I missed it, about joining Public Works with Mac Water and Light. Was that discussed?
Yeah, the city manager we've had a little conversation about moving Public Works to the engineering operations, you know, renting space from us essentially.
And James and the rest of the team, that's just a part of our going through and looking at the efficiencies and maybe cost savings at the city, if that could be a benefit to all from a cost savings.
Yeah, I think the reason I comment on is that's something new for us to look at and think about. I think most of our discussions, in fact, all of our discussions were the limited space we have for our staff and this, how does it work, and communication wise, how does that work? So
We wouldn't do anything with our current, it would be if we expand.
yeah, but I think our discussion originally was discussing, talking about adding on to this building. When I first came back here, 2.5 years ago, we talked about is adding on to it, and COVID kind of changed that outlook on maybe adding a new building would be beneficial as well. At some point, we're going to have to do something long term, but I think is going through an analysis on pros and cons on what we're looking at. One of the nice things about having it set up currently is the communication. Everybody's right here, but we do have some needs in regards to, commission chambers, more office space, and things are just getting outdated and getting old, actually. I mean, those have to be updated as well. So
Okay.
I think the staff has you'll see in your commission packet there, there's a bunch of recommendations in there with pros and cons to go through.
Yeah, and we've checked off a couple things on there as well over the last 18 months, so.
Yeah.
All right.
I think the need for office space, it just has to be addressed. I mean, whatever decision the commission makes, I think staff will be fine with. It's just, I think right now, I think just listening to this commission meeting, a larger issue would be is bringing additional staff into a building where we don't have adequate space how it is, and combining like a city and a utility, how it's set up, because that'd be a little different. I came from a utility similar to that, but.
Well, and I think COVID also showed us that, if we're gonna have to separate, and we just don't have adequate space for that.
Yeah, because when you start mingling different, I mean, I know we're part of the city, but it's different. We have different policies, different procedures. There is some different things there as much as we are all part of the city, I guess, but different practices.
All right. Thanks, James.
So to think about.
Any other discussion from the commission?
Okay, so it sounds like I have a direction, so
Good.
we'll start that way. Okay, thank you.
We're already.
We're high maintenance commission. Thank you.
Next on our agenda is a request to set the public hearing for water rates for September 21st, 2021 at 5:30. So I'll turn it over to Mark. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, yeah, cost of service study was performed back in 2018. And at that time, a 5-year rate design was also provided with that. And so based on that rate design, we've actually had 3 years of implementation of those rate design recommendations. The latest water rate increase was done in January of this year, January 1st. And so for the commission to consider a rate increase for the 4th year of the rate design, we would need to hold a public hearing. And so we wanted to bring this to the commission this evening and are seeking direction to, I guess, authorization to set a rate hearing for September 21st of this year at 5:30 to consider water rate changes with an effective date of October 1st of 2021.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions of Mark or discussion?
So I've not been through this before. How does the commission and enterprise engage with community members through this process?
So we usually put a notice out in the newspaper.
Right, well, as required for rate hearings by the city charter, the commission has to advertise, we have to advertise a public notice for rate hearing. So the engagement, as far as their engagement, it's in the public hearing. That would be held on September 21st.
So the public would come to the hearing and they would hear the proposal and then comment.
Much like we just did on our electric, did we not?
We haven't had the actual final yet.
We opened the hearing in June, so we opened the electric hearing in June and continued it until August. And so we'll be back in the rate hearing in August for the electric rates.
And that at that point, then the public comes in to comment.
Right. In fact, in our June meeting, we actually had a member of the public here
Yeah.
that asked a question on the rate consultant. So then there'll be an additional opportunity for public comment during the rate hearing in August.
And we welcome public input, and there are 1 or 2 people who often come and contribute, but most people don't.
Is
We
the
don't get a lot of
notice
feedback.
in other languages?
The publication notice is in English. It also invites written comments. It also invites the public to contact the general manager with questions.
And the one individual.
But I think, that brings up a good point. Trina, do you know if we post that on our website?
It's included in the commission packet material. I don't know that we post it separately, but all of the commission packet material is included and is on the website.
And so when it's on the website, do we have, people have the ability to convert that? Is that correct?
Yeah, we do have a toggle on our website that allows people to convert it into about 7 different languages. So they should have the ability to do that on the website.
That's great.
The consistent person that comes to talk to us is Mark Davis,
Yes.
whether that be at the city here or
Yeah.
here. And so, and he gives us some real good insights always.
Always, yeah.
So Jody, that's an interesting concept. Sam, would it be legal for us to publish the notice of hearing and the second most common language in the community, like in Spanish, would that be legal to do?
Well, probably not exclusive,
No, no,
but
but
in
publish it
addition,
another-
we certainly could, yes. I mean, there's nothing to prevent us from posting another language. We can do that.
Well, the other option would be is to post it on our website so people can just refer it there. Well, not that, no, send a note, put that in the
But not
notes.
everybody
Right.
goes to our website and has access to it. But we could put it, a notice in Spanish at the bottom saying that, you know, if you want a translation, come here, we'll give you one, or go to the website.
We can do that.
That's what I was saying.
I think that's a good
I like that,
practice. I think if I'm not wrong, during our meeting this morning, did Heather legit say 30% of the population?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that seemed a little high. thought
Yeah,
it
I was saying
25.
that somewhere between 25 and 28. Now, education-wide, it's 35. 35% of our
And that's
students
because we're drawing, school district draws from outside the city limits.
and the families are a bit larger than.
So when you have a growing Latinx population, you want to make sure that they're engaged. And I would think this would be a good start.
Well, and our working with Unidos and making sure Miriam knows that I'm going to meet with her later this week or next week. I can share the thought of how we can connect.
Yeah, that might be a good idea, is ask her, what would be the best way to connect you? Because I'm not sure the newspaper would be the best way.
So, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, do we ever put something like on the bill, on the bills that go out? Like
Not
a
typically,
notice or
not typically in
some
Spanish,
information?
and we don't have a lot of space on the bill to do that. So we haven't done it that way.
So I mean, it could just be like a. flat line
I think we have like two
announcement
sentences.
that there's gonna be a hearing.
Yeah.
The bills only go out in English, I'm guessing.
And the other thing, the number of bills continues. to go up.
Do you not get an electronic bill?
You just get a notice, you actually,
You
the
have
note,
to
yeah, you have to go there to do that, so.
As you think about strengthening communication with the diverse community, one avenue is to work with community-based organizations like Unidos, but there are other organizations as well. And I would even think the library would be a resource for that, and radio is often.
Maybe.
And radio is often a strong form of communication as well.
We try using that for advertising for jobs.
Great idea.
Yeah.
You guys could run it.
So Sam can work with Trina on that
Yes, I will. I think we're gonna have to do communication first.
here in the next probably 6 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks.
So I think Mr. Dunbar, so he's looking for direction and kind of gets in the form of a motion to set a rate hearing on September 21st, 21, 5 PM and direct staff to advertise for that rate hearing. And we understand the direction includes some Spanish language direction in that. So I think that's all.
Yeah, I don't think you can hear us.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
I'm
hearing a little noise, but it's hard to make it out.
Yeah, Sam just went over what you're asking for. And so I'll ask for a motion. Okay,
I'll second.
a second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? And so we will be looking at a public hearing on the water rates for September 21st, 2021. So that's a go ahead for you, Mark.
Okay, thank you.
The notice has already gone out.
So we published notice, right, before the June hearing, and the hearing was continued, so we have not republished.
We don't have to.
We don't have to, I mean, we could, we don't have to, I mean, we're trying to satisfy the.
No, if something, I assume if something comes up in your conversations to try to communicate better about this, if there's time to do it for the water rate, let's do that 2 years.
So just for clarification, the system that we have here, the microphone is that direction. Is there a way for the next meeting to
I think they're working on trying to, this is a practice.
Right, because it isn't helpful. Mark looks like he's really straining to hear us, so,
I'm
yeah.
not sure that's where.
We don't know where the
No, they're talking
microphone
about
is, we're pretty sure.
Trying to tie it in.
Where we're supposed to be talking.
There's
So
that.
there we go. That's our guru.
So, so the microphone is actually above the mayor and Commissioner
Yeah.
Christensen's
Oh,
with that little
okay.
black pen. The one
Okay.
above John Dietz is there for show, because that's actually for the audio ADA enhancement, the headphones that are behind you. So just to clarify, it's actually hanging above the mayor's head. That's not a
Okay,
spy
so
camera.
you might need to mic us next time.
Or maybe can it be
Or-
pulled down further?
I think those who are trying to do audio off of their laptops, the audio quality is not good, and those who have external speakers are doing better. So I made a note. We're ready to go.
Sorry.
Just you wait for August. It's going to be really great.
So the
Okay,
clarification on the motion was for the water rate hearing as requested, but the addition of the advertisement in Spanish, is it in print and on the radio, or one or the other, or?
I think Sam can update you with our discussion. I think initially we were talking about maybe being able to include it on our statement and where they could go to get a translation on the website
In the notice.
Okay.
in the notice.
Yeah, so Trina, my understanding is staff will investigate and determine what way is most effective to get that information out into languages.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thanks for a good discussion on that. Mark, would you take us through a discussion on the audit committee appointment?
You bet. So each year, the auditors, as they get ready to do our final field work, they plan their audit. They've been here last week to do interim testing, and so they'll take what they were able to go through and look at our controls, and that'll help them guide them into what they want to do in terms of how they plan their audit. And so each year they give opportunity for the audit committee to receive kind of their plan after they've made that kind of their preliminary plan. And the audit committee then with that can have input and ask questions, and then the auditors would potentially with that make some changes and ultimately perform their final field work. And so the question came up in talking with the auditors last week, would the audit committee like to have an audit entrance meeting is what they call it. And so if the audit committee would like to do that, we'd want to set that up ahead of when they do their final field work, which is in mid-September. So our thought was to suggest probably mid-August, maybe late August. That way it gives them, they need to have a little time if they're going to make some changes to incorporate that in to do final field work. So, and if the audit committee doesn't want to do that, that's okay. What would happen would be the auditors would go ahead and perform their audit as they see from, the work that they've already done and kind of just the standards and the things that they follow. They'll plan and perform their audit. And then they would provide the commission a letter. It comes with the audit itself. It's called, it's a letter that's titled Communications to Those Charged with Governance. And it goes over what the auditors did in terms of the planning of their audit. So it's okay either way, but we wanted to definitely let the audit committee know about this. And that kind of raised the second question, which is the audit committee members. Does the commission want to maintain the current committee members, which is Commissioner Tankersley and Christensen, or does the commission want to make any appointment changes there? So we thought we would bring both of those questions to the commission and see what you would like to do.
Thank you, Mark. I think maybe the first thing to do is to just ask Tom and Jody if you're feeling comfortable with the assignment on the audit committee.
Sure I am. So-
So I'm on the audit committee because I missed a meeting.
Are you saying
Commissioner
Ed?
Gormley would like to serve on, I won't do that to him because that's not nice. To a committee when they miss a meeting. I'm happy to serve, or if Commissioner T would like to serve.
Like I'm a little green to be getting into that.
One more year then,
Okay.
I will do
I have a
that.
lot of learning to do still.
It was interesting. The
Yeah,
process
I
was
think it is. I
interesting,
think
yeah.
you get to learn a lot there. And if, Jody, if you're okay with it, I think the pre-audit meetings are useful.
Yes, and would they be virtual or would we be meeting?
I think it's our choice.
Mark, how would
Yeah.
those?
Yeah, I think so we did our interim work virtually. They are beginning to open up on their end. So I think they would like to do that, but they probably would need to get that approved. So I couldn't say for sure tonight if they would meet in person, but I think that would be their preference if that's okayed by Moss Adams, corporate.
And could you remind me, what is the time commitment to the meeting?
Those meetings, the pre-meeting generally doesn't go any more than an hour.
Okay. That's good. The second meeting. Yeah, I'm comfortable meeting in person, or virtual.
Yeah, I think-
either way.
I heard Mark say, I think that
They
they
have
prefer
to.
to do it virtually.
Oh,
Is
okay.
that right, Mark?
I think it could be either way. If we'd like to do it in person, they would make that request, and if approved, we do it in person. And if you want to do it virtually, they certainly will do that. That won't be a problem.
My preference would be virtual, but,
Okay, let's do
but,
that then. That's easier time wise.
yeah, it is easier for me. I discovered that today. 3 hours of drive time, which really ate into the day. So virtual would be great work.
Okay,
And late August works best for me, Mark. I don't know.
okay.
Yeah,
Is that
I
like the,
have time off till next March, so I'm good.
Is that something that I could witness or is that too many people?
I think
in the
it's too
room?
many people.
Yeah.
But I
Hear
guess
about it
Mark,
after.
Mark could send the information to you if you wanted to
Well, but
see.
she couldn't she, if it's virtual, couldn't she just watch if she's not participating? Sam?
Well, the fact that she's a commissioner kind of makes me, if you made it a public meeting, you noticed it, you could bring everybody, and that just didn't solve the problem. You just notice it's a public meeting.
It's up to you. It's up to
No,
you.
that's great. There's
Make it
nothing secret in that.
Yeah.
It was the same problem that we had when we brought the audit committee from the city and Mac Water and Light, and I'm on the audit committee for the city. I came in, I'm also a commissioner, so I had to excuse myself, and I wasn't able to be a part of that, so.
We got to talk about it, so that.
And the signing things. Well,
Yeah, that would be
if it
great.
works out, it's just a good to
So
witness.
But I think it's something that Trina, as the clerk of the commission, would have to notice that. It probably is a special meeting, so there are those timeframes. No more than, has to be at least 24 hours in advance, no more than 96. And so we have to follow those rules, but when we know the date, we can do that.
Sorry, Trina.
so it sounds like did I hear the last week of August maybe? Is that what would work for?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that works.
Okay,
And the other piece is we could, if it's virtual, record it and then have that available to watch for any commissioner that would
That
like
might
to
be
give
good.
us sense.
Yeah, then we don't have to notice, you can just watch it.
I'm good with that.
Then you can have a beverage.
Then I can watch it. Then I can watch it twice.
That's
With it.
Yes.
So maybe that would be the way, Trina, to just record it and make it available, because, some of the other commissioners may want just to have that opportunity. Okay,
Great.
so, Mark, you've got your audit committee for another year. And now we know that we can move forward with that pre-meeting with the audit committee.
so I'll follow up with Commissioner Tanksley and Christensen on the the specific dates, we'll plan a date there at the last week of August and go forward. Thanks.
Thank you. That takes us to item F, an amendment to number 1 to the BPA Energy Conservation Agreement, contract number 17 ES-11511. Jamie, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Yes, so tonight for the Commission's consideration is amendment number 1 to the Energy Conservation Agreement between McMinnville Water and Light and the Bonneville Power Administration. The ECA provides the framework and guidelines to administer Bonneville's energy efficiency program. And this amendment serves to just extend the expiration date for 1 more year and also update the notices portion of the agreement. Fairly straightforward, but I'll welcome any questions.
Any questions for Jamie? And if I'm not mistaken, we have a resolution associated with this where Sam can go over that when the time's appropriate. But again, open for questions or comments from the commission. Seeing none, then Sam will go over to the resolution.
Okay, and it's in your packet, resolution number 2021-22, a resolution authorizing and approving amendment number 1 to the Energy Conservation Agreement, contract number 17 ES-11511, entered into between the City of McMinnville, acting by through its Water and Light Commission, and after referred to as McMinnville, and the United States Department of Energy, acting by through the Bonneville Power Administration, hereafter referred to as BPA. And so this would require a motion from the Commission.
So do I have a motion? A second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Resolution 2021-22. Trina, can you poll the commission?
Mayor Hill,
Yes?
Commissioner Tankersley,
Yes.
Commissioner Christensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Tate.
Yes.
Resolution number 2021-22 passes unanimously. So thank you, Jamie, for that presentation.
Thank you.
That takes us to a point where we will be going into executive session. And so I will allow those that are going to be a part of the executive session. Trina.
Yes, this will be executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6602F to consider information and records that are exempt from public disclosure under ORS 192.355 sub 23 relating to identifying security measures, individual, building, and